Sure. So Facebook was started in the winter of our sophomore year at school. So Mark, Dustin, and I were all roommates, and we, when that summer finally came, the three of us were out here. I was out here for a tiny bit of the summer. They were out here full time, and they decided to stay out here and pursue Facebook completely instead of going back to school. At that point, I decided that I should probably go back for a year, and then after I finished my junior year, I decided to just go ahead and finish it up. So I stayed in school, continued to work as spokesperson for the site, and then finished in June of this year, and I'm now working full-time, finally out here for the operation that's ballooned in the meantime from 3 people to 130. Initially, this was a site that we all thought it was a cool idea for Harvard students, and it was hatched in a dorm room with the idea that maybe a few people at Harvard would use it. But a ton of people, 6,000 people at Harvard signed up within the first 3 weeks. So we made the decision to expand it to other schools to see if it was going to work there as well, and it did, almost magically so. So then we added a few more schools and a few more schools, and over time we've gotten to the point where we now have over 3,000 colleges plugged into the site, over 22,000 high schools, and now 10,000 corporations as well. So the trajectory has very much changed from 2 years ago when it first began. For all 3 of these types of organizations that are now plugged into Facebook, we have colleges, high schools, and corporations. All 3 of them are more or less using them in the same way. They plug in with an email address from their school or from their company, and then they're able to see the profiles of everyone else at their given school or at their company. So the idea is that people are using Facebook as an online community that mirrors the community that already exists in real life. So when you log into Facebook and say you work at Merrill Lynch, you take a look around at profiles, you're going to see other people who work at Merrill Lynch. Say you also went to Dartmouth. So you're part of the Dartmouth network, you can be part of the Merrill Lynch network, and so then you can see everyone who goes to Dartmouth and everyone who works at Merrill Lynch. So the idea is that we all as individuals have these real life communities that we live in day to day, and we want to translate them and build a space for them on the internet for people to learn more about their peers who they could already meet in real life. So it's very different. You're not going online to randomly meet someone who lives 8,000 miles away. Instead, you're going online to see information about people that you already care about in the first place.
So corporations, they don't have like an enterprise program, or do they pay differently, or they can just sort of start up on their own, basically? I mean...
Right, it's just like colleges or high schools. They need to have email addresses that we can use to authenticate, and from there we can build out the network.
Wow. Could you mention some of the companies that are using Facebook now?
Just they're everyday companies that are companies in the country, like IBM or Apple, or it's not just tech companies. There are all the major companies that you can think of and that give out email addresses are on the site.
I see. And is that done by the corporate IT people, or people sort of do it on their own, or is it?
No, we authorize people to register for the site using the company's domain, and from there, all of the work happens on our end. Right. So it's all spread virally and socially amongst the users, and from our perspective, it's us who's providing the technical framework to allow them to use the site. For us, we believe that the key to our success is the tie to everyday real-life communities that Facebook has and that other social networks don't have. It gives the entire site a different feel, both in terms of comfort, in terms of security and privacy. Like those types of values that have defined Facebook since the beginning are what's carrying us through and are what is allowing us to build our user base so consistently over the past 2 years. So we're interested in giving users complete control over their information and allow them to act with people online that they would already be able to interact with in real life. And so that connection between the immediacy of the screen and the immediacy of the real life that surrounds you in a college dorm or in a cafeteria or what have you is what spells out our success.
Tell me one more thing. What's the business model for you guys? Like, and how does that work? How do you see the business proposition for Facebook?
Sure. So the model right now is a heavy reliance on advertising. But just like everything on the site, we try to keep the advertising, the businesses that do use Facebook, relevant to our users. Our users are our number one priority, and we've been fortunate up until now in that we've been able to have companies like Apple, for instance, buy something called a sponsored group on the site, which is a group that students can create that has no corporate corporate tie, or that a company can choose to come in and purchase that space and use that space to do giveaways, do promotions, what have you, and that is good for our users because it allows them to another space to interact with people who are interested in a particular brand, and it's good for the companies because it allows them to have a direct connection to the people that like them in the first place, and thereby show those people who like them can show their friends that they like the company, and so it can spread much more virally as a social trend rather than just a simple banner ad that's popped on top of the page.
And just one other final question. What is the future of social networking? I mean, I'm not asking what you guys are going to do specifically, but where is it all going? I mean, either in terms of society or global use, or I don't know, kind of where is it heading?
It's a good question, and I mean, it's one that we obviously think about all the time. From our perspective, we think that in the long term, the social networks that are going to last are the networks that provide the infrastructure for people to interact with people that they already care about in real life. And so in that sense, social networking, as in terms of like creating a profile, meeting random people, that's fun for a couple months, but what shows longevity is building out a space online where your entire social network is reflected and is able to have interactions with you in a new format, in a new zone of reality, if you will. And so we're seeing that, and just in terms of our numbers of the users who come back to our site, we have over 8 million users, but we're able to be the 7th most traffic site on the entire internet because 2/3 of them are coming back to the site every single day. They're getting up in the mornings, they're taking showers, they're checking their email, they're checking Facebook, or they're going to class, or they're going to work. And it's really embedding itself into an everyday life to an extent where it's sort of hard to get rid of. It's like getting rid of email or getting rid of instant messenger or something like that for a lot of 20-somethings these days. And I think that pattern of activity and that type of behavior is what in the long run is going to continue to propel social networking forward. And so the question is about how Facebook's responding to employers checking out Facebook users' information. So what we have is we have extensive privacy settings that we've updated so that users can have complete control over every single morsel of information in their profile. So that means that if you are a college user and you have photos from the party that you went to last weekend, but you want to keep those photos just to other 20-year-olds or just to your friends, for instance, you can go and you can click a radio button and say, only allow these photos to be available to my friends. So if someone is looking at your profile who is not someone that you've made a direct friend connection with, they're not going to be able to see those photos. If you want to join, if you go to Dartmouth and so you're a member of the Dartmouth network and you want to join the Merrill Lynch network and have a different profile for Merrill Lynch, or have a different face of your identity because you're a different person when you're at work than you might be when you're relaxing in the evenings, you can make that possible through the My Privacy setting. You can just take out features or add features on the site depending on the network, so that if you don't want to show something like your photos or the wall feature, which is a feature where your friends are allowed to leave comments, to people who you work with, you don't have to. You can just strike that out. If you want to keep it to your friends and keep it available to everyone who goes to your college, that's possible too. So at the end of the day, we're trying to invest the maximum amount of autonomy into our users so that they have complete control over their information and don't have to deal with any unusual or unforeseen challenges to that.